everyone. Welcome to our Trilingual family channel. Today we are going to talk about the differences between Japanese people and Chinese people. We're actually Chinese people, but we're living in Japan. We actually live more years in Japan than in China. So today we're going to talk about the differences, what we felt through communicating with people of those two countries. So what do you think?
Wow, it's a first English video for us, so I'm still very nervous.
Me too.
Really?
Yes.
You speak so fluently, so.
No, but I have to.
As for the difference between the Chinese and the Japanese, I think that Japanese make a bow,
I see.
but Chinese shake hands
I
like
see.
like American. So even these two countries look so similarly, and they're very nearby, but their customs they have a big difference.
I see.
Yeah, so
it's about the custom. But on the other side, I think if you nod your head to the person you're facing, it seems like you're showing that you're defeated. Like showing too much respect for Chinese people. I think Chinese people want to be like equal with others.
Yes.
In that way, Japanese people are modest. Maybe that's their tactic or like the way people should behave in the society. So Japanese people do not hesitate to bow.
Yeah.
I see a lot of Japanese people greeting in the first day of the new year.
Yes.
So a lot of people just bow like this, and then the other goes bowing, and then if you how to say you get up,
a race, right?
Yeah. You get up and then find the other person is still bowing to you, then you have to do that again. And then the other person and then gets up and see that you're down still, and then that person has to bow again, this kind of bowing race.
Yes. And even have a call, you can't see the other side, but many Japanese make a bow. Like me also, because I live in Japan for a long time, so I also will make a bow when I call.
The other person cannot see you.
So Japanese say, you already is Japanese.
Like we even feel that that's the way we should do. That's the really polite way, right? So that was one of the aspects. What I found different between Chinese people and Japanese people are like when Chinese people gives present to others, they just say, "Oh, this is so special. I got this from this like a very rare case, and then I bought this. I stood in the line, and I bought this just for you, all the way. Came to give it to you. But actually, it's just something. And then, on the other hand, the Japanese people would say it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Maybe they have words soshina. Soshina means a bad goods, right? They say this is a bad goods, but it's not. It's very clear. It's present, so it's not like the previous topic. I think the main difference is related to the language. The Japanese language, they have many polite expression.
I see.
But Chinese don't have that. When Chinese and the Japanese have communications, they have a little problem. Chinese want a direct and need a quick reply. But the Japanese, they want to express their request very indirect. Actually,
in this nowadays very speedy business situation, I think Japanese, those like a greeting coming first, and then you have like a general ending or something. That really bothers a lot, like wasting the time.
Yes.
But it's weird that we all think we need to write something in the Japanese society. If you do not write those, even if you think it's a waste of time, and you know that the other person wants your reply straightforward, you'll feel that person is rude. Yeah, it's weird.
When we do the business, it's really a difference. The Chinese discuss very directly and very clear conclusion for the meeting, but the Japanese maybe not. They care about the atmosphere of the meeting room. They care about their executive, the words. So they have to speak or expression their opinion very indirectly.
I think in a meeting, Japanese people rarely speak out, especially in a staff level. Like those managers are kind of forced to speak, then they have to say something. But for the staff level people, I think if they speak out, they will get trouble. Like in Japanese, there is a saying called "deru kui wa utareru." Like the nail that sticks out gets hammered in.
Wow.
Yeah, like that kind of saying. So you should not be outstanding, especially in a situation where your bosses are there. It's better. It's thought better to be quiet and listen to others and do not say anything in the meeting, even though you're sitting there attending that meeting. But for the Chinese people, they just speak out. When I studied abroad in the US, in the United States of America, I found a lot of Chinese people just answer the question the teacher asked. But Japanese just keep very quiet. At first, of course, at first. But later, of course, they get more active and learning the atmosphere in that country.
Maybe Japanese students are thinking very deeply, but
You're just so hesitant.
Hesitate to express their opinion.
Well, I think generally speaking, Chinese people are louder, much louder.
The voice?
Yeah, not only about the voice, but also like if they get together in a group, they do not care about other people outside the group. So like I remember when we traveled in the Europe, in Italy and France, we went there with a Japanese tour, and Japanese people. I remember that there were 40 people in one group. Only us were Chinese. I mean, the nationality are Chinese. Then there, the tour conductor asked all of the people in the tour group to stand in line and then to wait and be quiet, and then nobody speaks out. And they're just waiting there for like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Waiting for the tour conductor. While we're waiting, the Chinese tour group over there passing by and talking so loudly, and they just don't listen to the tour conductor who is speaking to them. And also, I think Chinese people are not afraid to ask questions to even a person, a stranger, a person whom you meet for the first time. Once I've got to know a person who is from China, maybe that person felt very curious about me, so that person asked me a lot of questions for the first time when we met. First, she asked me, so where you're from? That's a kind of general question, and I answered, and then later she got to know that I live in this kind of place, and then that person would ask, how much is the rent? Like, how much you paid for the house? And
you are salary,
like
right?
Salary. Like, where do you work? What are you doing? That's so
very curious, right? Very curious for your private information.
I mean, being curious is good, and Japanese people are curious too, but they just do not think it's a good way to ask right now. Maybe later time, or maybe in the future they will never ask because they think that kind of question is too much, too rude, right?
Basically, Japanese very, very care about what is polite.
Yes, like what they have to say.
To ask a private question, it's related to what is the polite. So that's the Japanese, the very core thinking way.
In some, I think there is a kind of what you have to do, what you should do, how you should behave, such kind of manner in Japanese society.
Yes, they have their culture, they have a lot of manner.
Maybe Chinese people also have such kind of manner. They know they have to say this in this kind of situation, but maybe I think they have less. They care less.
I have the others like about the gender.
Gender, I see. Oh, I
Women
see.
and men.
I see.
I don't know that everybody knows or not. The Chinese is very gender free, I think. In my mind, in China, we don't care about the women or men.
Yeah.
Especially for the business, we don't care about that.
Yeah.
If the boss is the woman, it's very natural.
Yes.
But in Japan, like a man must working outside, and the woman need to
stay home.
Yeah, stay home.
Stay home.
Yeah, to just see the kids. So
it's not a quarantine.
Yeah. So that's the big difference about that.
Yeah, I actually have a very interesting story about that. When I was very little, I was in China, right? It was when I was 9 years old that I came to Japan. So before that, I was in China in a Chinese elementary school. We have our numbers, right? Like in a class, you have your number, right? Girls went first, and then followed by boys. Even in a Chinese school in Japan, they also have a list with girls on top, and then after all the girls' name are written down, and then you have boys. But when I came to Japan, I was so surprised that boys came first, and then girls came last. So like number 1 is for men, and number 2 is for girl. Like in a Japanese like a survey or like a form you to fill in. You have to choose whether you are a man or a woman. It's always like man is number 1, and girl like a woman is number 2. So I think in a Japanese society, they think man is superior. Kind of. I mean, no one can say that right now, but that kind of common sense.
So basically, Chinese men can cook.
Yeah. Can you?
Of course. We will do every housekeeping.
And then it's natural.
Very,
like
very
you have
natural.
To, right?
So our parents also do that. So we also do that. It's very natural.
Yes.
Basically, in China, they have to share all the work.
And even in China, I think women are dominant.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.